2 months after the birth of the new South Africa, an intrepid, all-white South African film team embarked on a venture which only a few months ago would have been deemed impossible. Armed with little more than foolish courage, our cameras, and enough food and water to last us most of the way, our small group of new South Africans decided to do something that has never been done before. To put Africa's trade routes, its railway services, and the goodwill of its people to the test. To hitch our private railway coach, courtesy of Spoornet, to the first goods train going north and further north. Countless hitches and many goods trains later, we finally did discover the end of the line. This is the story of that journey. But more so, it is the simple story of an artery that has been kept open against all odds.
Not to you?
No.
Thank you very much. We'll see you on the return trip.
Okay.
Thank you.
At last we were moving again. A long, shaky night's train ride into day 7, and a first of many shunting stops along the way. Yet again, the diary mentions the increasing neglect. Simply listening to music becomes impossible with the din the wheels make in their effort to remain on the warped, uneven tracks. Many of the locomotives we hitched were part of an aid package from some donor country, like this one from the United States, on our way to Delhi, Sawmills, Thompson Junction, and Victoria Falls. With weapons from Cuba and uniforms from all corners of the globe, representing a dozen or more revolutionary armies, our guests were volatile and unpredictable to the extreme. Photographs were allowed after only a while, and later Paul was allowed to roll the television camera. Following which, they helped themselves to our beer, our cigarettes, and even our election poster. What else can you do with an armed man but to humor him? We asked ourselves, who was playing dice with who? Elizabethville, now Lubumbashi, is a waste dump left behind when the last Belgian walked out and switched the lights off. He didn't even bother to lock up. Whatever remained was used until it collapsed and left where it stood to rot away. Lubumbashi is a scrap metal dealer's dream come true and an economist's worst nightmare.
an average of 6 trains.
Yes.
3 in the morning and 3 in the evening.
The Red Line will consist of a new 1435mm gauge track that will run for 26 kilometers from Akbado to Edo with a 4-kilometer spur to Murtala Mohammed International Airport. A landmark bridge with raised approaches will link the Red Line with Marina on Lagos Island. 7 larger road bridges, drainage and perimeter walling is envisaged. The Blue Line will also use 1435mm gauge tracks and will run a distance of 27 kilometers from Okokomaiko to Marina before joining alignment with the Red Line at Edo Station. From Edo, the 2 lines will cross over the Osa Lagoon to Lagos Island.
The public transport system should be multimodal, consisting of a rail and road-based system that will operate both individually and in a combined fashion as an integrated system. Subcontractors will not operate informally. They will be subject to contractual service level agreements. A high-speed rail system is envisaged similar to the Gautrain system. Early designs prefer a double-decker coach train set that offer exceptional economies along long distances, but at the same time, a high-speed capability that will secure shorter journey times. The entry point of the rail system to the Tshwane metropolitan area follows a route parallel to the Moloto Road, where it enters the metropolitan areas a few hundred meters east from the N1 Zambezi interchange, connecting with a metro rail system at Kuduspoort with an end destination at either Belombre Station or Pretoria Main Station. The intent is that it will also link the Gautrain system at Hatfield or Pretoria Station. The rail route should connect the identified stations in the most direct and shortest possible way, avoiding any barriers that could jeopardize travel speeds and safety standards, taking due cognizance of all environmental issues as identified through the environmental impact assessment process. No level crossings will be allowed along the entire route, while specific measures will be taken to ensure protection for livestock and other animals. Pedestrian bridges will also allow safe access for people to both sides of the railway line. All other rail safety standards will be included in the rail infrastructure design. Technically, the system must reduce the current extensive travel time of 4.5 hours per day. At the early planning stages, a total daily trip time saving of up to 1 hour 30 minutes is envisaged, including all feeder services and transfers at stations. To achieve this goal, the most common rail gauge used internationally, the so-called standard gauge, was recommended, a policy direction currently favored by government, supported by decisions taken by the OAU for all future railway lines in Africa. Double-deck coaches are the preferred technology for the Moloto Rail Corridor. Because of the long travelling times, a high-capacity seating arrangement is required. There will be 6 seats per row, spaced 720 millimeters apart. The capital investment that is required to implement the system was estimated at nearly 9 billion rand in 2007 rand value. By the time the project is implemented, inflation could well push up this cost to between 10 billion and 20 billion rand, depending on the speed of implementation.
that war, a mountain near the French-German border harbored the longest, bloodiest underground battle of any war, anywhere. It started in 1914, when German armies blew into Belgium and northern France. They figured 6 weeks to conquer Paris. But after a 5-day fight on the Marne River, both sides pulled back to plant machine gun nests and dig trenches, the roots of subterranean warfare. Eventually, the trenches stretched nearly 500 miles, from Belgium to Switzerland. One point on the battle line was Vauquois. Claude Perron founded an association to preserve the memory of Vauquois.
Nous sommes sur la butte de Vauquois.
We are on the mound of Vauquois, a 920-foot-high mound. We're in the center of the old village of Vauquois that was completely destroyed. The monument that you see behind me marks where the city hall stood.
Ingrid Ferrand is a tour guide at Vauquois.
Weil man von hier aus
Geographically, the hill was the best spot from which one could overlook the valleys. From this point, one could control the provision of supplies over the roads and railways.
die Straßen und die Eisenbahn.
The Germans and the French fought ferociously, under the worst conditions, to control the strategic hilltop.
Ça fait que la butte de Vauquois
Vauquois was cut in two, on one side the French and on the other the Germans. So we are face to face and shoot at each other.
French losses in these battles were huge. In early 1915, 3,000 infantrymen died during one 5-day period. The Germans lost fewer men, but both armies were so decimated in surface attacks, they took cover in the only possible direction: underground.
From the trenches, the stairs go down to the underground barracks, where 1,500 to 1,800...
A few years before World War II, France decided to build an underground border defense to keep the German army out forever, or longer. Minister of War André Maginot got the project funded, and by 1939, only the Maginot Line stood between Germany and France.
Along 600 miles of her eastern frontier, from Switzerland to the North Sea, France, for the last 8 years, has been building the mightiest defenses the world has ever seen. These men, called at dawn from their barracks behind the line near Metz, are heading for exercises inside the Maginot Line, while in the earth far below, the garrison which day and night mans the underground fortresses is called too. The Maginot Line has been photographed before, but this is the first time that the newsreel cameras have been privileged to see actual troop exercises, a full rehearsal of what France would do if she were attacked from the east.
The Maginot Line was really a defensive zone that extended up to 6 miles from the French-German border. It bristled with barbed wire, mines, and tank traps. In ritual and myth, the underworld is dark and horrifying and bound to death and afterlife. Some know it as the cosmic headquarters of hell. Others find it an invisible place of transformation and passage. But there's more. Every day, an uncommon clan commutes from light to shadow, willing workers as diverse as nuns and salt miners, priests and jailers, archaeologists and rat catchers. Many make a living in the realm of the dead. In fear or faith, the underworld has a bony grip on everyone. Its darkness stirs people's most primal emotions. And what could be darker than tunnels in the earth through cities of the dead? Since the earliest civilizations, necessity has inched us forward. Facing challenges, we've been inspired to reach, to innovate. But not all the monuments to man's ingenuity are visible. Hidden beneath the surface of cities, ancient and contemporary, lie other achievements. An intricate web of vital arteries which connect us, sustain us, benefit us all. You can't really appreciate a metropolis until you see the subtropolis beneath. This infrastructure, these invisible places, make civilization possible. Most people never see them. Now, you will. In Les Miserables, Victor Hugo called it the fetid stream of subterranean slime that the pavement hides from you. The stink hole, the place where everything goes eventually. The sewer.